So in Photos controller, these two private read-only fields are creating a little bit of noise. And I would like to take them out and put them in our app settings. With this, if you want to change these values in the future, we don't have to come back and recompile our application. We can simply modify our app settings and upload the new version to our hosting environment. So let's go to app settings.json. Here I'm going to add a new section called photo settings. And here we're going to have two key value pairs. One is max bytes, which I'm going to set to 10 megabytes. So here we cannot add 10 times 1024 times 1024. It doesn't work. We have to add the explicit value. So 10 megabytes, it's 104.857.60. I know I didn't memorize this. I've got a cheat sheet in front of me that you don't see on the screen. Now the second key value pair is accepted file types. And we're going to set this to an array with three values: JPG, JPEG, and PNG. Next, in our models folder, I'm going to add a new class, call it photo settings. So the settings we defined in app settings will be mapped to the properties of this class. So here we're going to have two properties, max bytes and string array, accepted file types. Next, we need to register this class for dependency injection in the startup class. So let's go to the startup class. In configure services method, where we register the dependencies, I'm going to call services dot. This time we're going to use configure instead of add method. This is a generic method. The parameter is our new class, photo settings. Now, as the argument, we need to pass an instance of iConfiguration interface. So here in this class, we have this property called configuration, which is of type iConfiguration root. And this points to the root of app settings. So here we can use configuration dot get section. So we want to get the section called photo settings. Now let's import the namespace. Beautiful. And finally, let's go back to our controller. Here in the constructor, I'm going to add a new parameter, iOptions snapshot. And our generic argument is photo settings. So let's call this parameter options and then import the namespace. Okay, now here, I'm going to set this .photo settings to options.value. So this interface, iOptions snapshot, it has a value property, and the type of this value is based on the generic argument we supply to iOptions snapshot. Okay, now let's declare a new private field, private read-only, photo settings, and we call it photo settings. Now we can get rid of these two private fields here, clean up this class, and back in the upload action, we can replace these with photo settings dot max bytes and photo settings dot accepted file types. So with this implementation, we can always come back here and modify these values, and the new values will be in effect immediately. In ASP.NET MVC5, if we changed any of the settings in web.config, that would cause our application to be restarted. But we don't have this issue with ASP.NET Core, because our application settings is just a simple JSON file. Now back in the controller, here on this line, we have a bug. So our accepted file types are all lowercase strings. If the file the user is uploading has an uppercase name, it's not going to be picked up by this expression here. So when we get the extension, we need to convert it to lowercase. Okay, now you can see this expression is getting a little bit too noisy. So I would like to take it out and push it in our photo settings class, because after all, this class is responsible for presenting the settings for uploading photos. Let's go back to photo settings. So here I'm going to add a new method, public bool is supported, which gets a file name. Now back in the controller, I'm going to move this logic inside our new method. So let's make the necessary modifications. We want to return the value. We don't want photo settings dot. We can simply access accepted files property. And here, instead of file.filename, we're just going to use filename. Much better. We have encapsulated this logic inside this class. And that's the whole point of object-oriented programming. Now back in the controller, we can simply type if photo settings dot is supported, and we give it the file name, which is file.filename. So if this file type is not supported, we return a bad request. All right, we're done with the server side. Now let's move on to the client side.